Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever felt completely out of your depth? Like totally out of your element in a brand new environment? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating journey of intellectual survival. We are going to explore a deeply personal and honestly incredibly intense anecdote from Octavio Baez Hidalgo. We're looking at his complete fish-out-of-water entry into a totally new academic discipline. Making a massive career pivot is something a lot of us dream about, or sometimes just get forced into. But seeing exactly how someone managed it, the raw, unfiltered reality of learning a completely new scientific language from scratch, is incredibly revealing. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly what it takes to bridge the gap between two radically different fields of study.
Now, to really grasp the magnitude of this story, we've got to travel back in time. The year is 1973, spilling over into 1974. And this is a super crucial piece of context. Think about it. There are no online databases, no quick internet searches to define a term you don't understand, absolutely no digital summaries. In this environment, a young Octavio was first brought to the Department of Neurosciences by Dr. Pedro Valdés, who just wanted to introduce him to the work being done there.
Part 1. The Mathematician Meets Neuroscience. A Leap into the Unknown.
Picture this. You are a confident, restless young student, and suddenly you step into a highly intimidating, entirely foreign world of biological systems. On one side, you have Octavio, who is just finishing his second year of pure mathematics. He is totally accustomed to abstract logic and absolute proofs. On the other side, the Department of Neurosciences. He had absolutely zero biological training. None. Zilch. He was stepping into a highly specialized medical environment armed with literally nothing but mathematical theory.
Right off the bat, he meets Dr. Thalia Harmony. Octavio describes her as one of the most intelligent and determined people he has ever crossed paths with in his entire life. Now, she fully knew that he lacked any biological background. But instead of just turning him away, she looked at him with what he describes as inquisitive eyes. That intense, unforgettable gaze signaled that she was sizing him up, trying to figure out exactly what it would take to mold a pure mathematician into a functional neuroscientist.
Part 2. The Rule of 5. Immersion by Fire.
Okay, so Dr. Harmony didn't exactly offer a gentle, hand-holding introductory course. No way. She offered a trial by fire. And this brilliantly illustrates that old-school immersive method of mentorship. She looked right at him and said, "To work here, you must read more than 5 scientific articles in English a day." I mean, just think about the sheer rigor of that daily requirement. For someone with zero biology background, reading even one peer-reviewed neuroscience paper would take hours. 5 a day is an absolute avalanche of information, perfectly designed to force rapid adaptation.
But here's the thing, Dr. Harmony didn't just hand him an impossible task and walk away. She provided all the facilities for him to actually succeed. She taught him how to physically track down and access the global scientific literature he needed to bridge his huge knowledge gap. She even showed him how to subscribe to receive scientific journals, including ones originating in Russian that had been translated into English. Plus, she made absolutely sure he still had access to publications on mathematics and programming so he wouldn't completely lose his foundation.
Part 3. A Crash Course in Biology, Textbooks and Trials.
So while those daily articles were building his specialized vocabulary, he still desperately needed the foundational basics. Just look at this massive assigned reading list. Dr. Harmony handed him a towering stack of textbooks. We're talking Medical Physiology by Dr. Guyton, Functional Neurosciences by Drs. Estrada and Pérez, covering everything from Neuroanatomy to Neurophysiology. She even gave him a book on Medical Sexology. It was an incredibly heavy workload that Octavio was expected to conquer just to get a baseline understanding of the human body and mind.
To supplement all of this intense reading, he was given a work-study position and sent straight into medical school semesters. But, here's where we see a super relatable clash of personalities. Octavio openly admits he really didn't do very well in that traditional environment. As a naturally energetic, math-minded kind of guy, he was simply never given to sitting in a quiet classroom for hours on end. He really struggled to thrive in that passive, lecture-heavy setting of traditional medical schooling.
Part 4. The Saturday Interrogations. Weekly Reckoning.
Since quiet classrooms weren't exactly his strong suit, the real learning and the real pressure cooker happened on the weekends. Saturday featured a strict 4-hour shift dedicated entirely to scientific meetings and intense project discussions. Which brings us to a frankly intimidating weekly quota. Remember those 5 articles a day? Well, Dr. Harmony told him to select and study at least 25 articles for each week, just so she could test him on Saturdays to see if he had actually assimilated them.
He was literally preparing for a weekly interrogation by some of the brightest minds in the entire field.
But here is where Octavio shares a pretty hilarious confession. Despite the massive buildup of tension and all that frantic studying to prepare for Saturday, he notes, "I was lucky because they hardly ever asked me." GGG. He managed to successfully dodge the dreaded weekend pop quizzes. Yet, clearly, the mere threat of being called upon was more than enough to keep him reading and learning at an absolute breakneck pace.
Part 5. Charting an Independent Path. The Dual Education.
That incredibly intense welcome really formed the bedrock of his neuroscience training. But his original field, that required a totally different approach. We have a clear split here. For neuroscience, he had the strict, formal biological guidance of Dr. Thalia Harmony. But for math and programming, he was basically left to learn at his own risk. He had to decide for himself what to study and exactly how to progress, though he does note he still had Dr. Pedro Valdés close by for support.
And you know, this insanely demanding period, the translated Russian journals, the stack of massive textbooks, the 25 articles a week, it wasn't just busy work. It was a vital foundation for the future. Octavio points out that because of this intense early immersion, he was successfully set up to later master complex hands-on laboratory work and dive deep into fields like neurobiochemistry in the years that followed.
Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Looking at the sheer volume of reading, the total lack of modern shortcuts, and the intense expectation to assimilate 25 scientific papers a week in a completely foreign discipline, could you survive this intense, old-school method of mentorship? What would it honestly take for you to make a massive interdisciplinary leap today? It's a fascinating question about how we learn, how we adapt, and the incredible impact of a mentor with inquisitive eyes who simply refuses to let us fail. Keep learning, keep challenging yourself, and we'll see you in the next explainer.